How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello and welcome to the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio's glowing in the dark on your 11-meter Citizen Band radio service. On the air in our 34th year, doing what we do best, and that's listening for your tube radios. Here in the Central Valley, 27085 is our frequency of choice. That's channel 11. And everywhere else via the audio stream at oldtuberadio.net and live at this juncture on the YouTube channel here. So hopefully you will hear some of your radios, famous and favorite radios tonight as our tube radio operators check them in. We're going to stand by and see if we can't pick up a few right now on the Old Tube Radio Network.
45.
And it sounds like we have one ready to go for our list. SWL 45, that's Paul up in North Fork. We will take it back to you in the radio room and let us know what's glowing in the dark over there.
Okay, Dennis. I'm going to check in my general radio telephone MC6.
All right. It has a lot of audio. In fact, it has maybe more audio than it knows what to do with. There is a little bit of oscillation coming in through the microphone there, but I'm hearing you just fine. So let's grab a picture of the MC6 and go back to you for a transmission.
Yeah, that's the radio I'm talking about right there. Let me back up the mic a little bit. 16 got so much full of modulation. That is unbelievable, I think. And it's just a carbon mic, so that's probably having something to do with what you're hearing.
Yeah, it is. It has a lot of oscillation in the microphone. That time it was a lot louder, almost as loud as you are. I'm hoping everything is okay with the antenna match. Sometimes if things get out of line that way, you'll get some issues on the radio. But key it down again, and we'll see what happens. It's unusual for that radio to have that kind of an issue.
Very unusual. And I've never been into the radio and anything other than being stopped. And this was done before me, so I don't know. I've had the radio for 20-some years. Anyway, it's an A-tuber, and it's got 7 transmit crystals, 4 receive crystals, with a VFO for a 24-channel receiver. And boy, it took a good half an hour or 45 minutes for it to stabilize. It was back and forth. I didn't know like a little longer to talk to you. Of course, the receive crystals off frequency. Well, I just have to be a bonus for it. It doesn't have noise created, but you know, you call it phone signal on there. The first year they went to bullhorns in the place. FCC told them to get rid of it. They did. They put a bullhorn. So it was that bullhorn was pretty popular anyway. I had one on my truck. So anyway, back to you, Dennis. I'm sure you got a lot to add to it.
Okay, yeah, still got the oscillation there, and you will hear it on the archives if you watch and listen back to the video. But it's more severe than you probably would like, and not sure. It sounds like the radio was having a little trouble warming up as well. So it sounds like something didn't come up quite right. Maybe it just needs a reset, as it were. Even before the days of reboots, I suppose you could turn things off and let them set and turn them back on, and they would be just fine. Paul is talking on his general radio telephone MC6. Year of make, probably 1964 is what we were showing. Now, the interesting thing, the original price when it first came out was $199.95, and the next year, for 1965, they dropped the price down to about $160. 8-tube transceiver with 4 crystals in the tunable receive and 4 crystals on the transmit side. Or no, I'm sorry, 7 on the transmit side. And, I'm showing 7 and 4, so I'm not exactly sure. Paul, help me out on there. It looks like it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 5-channel or a 7-channel, over?
Okay. Oh, on the transmit you have 7, and you got that extra crystal something right below the that looks like a 7 to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that'd be 7. With the external socket. And the receive is at the vehicle, and you got 4 channels crystal besides the vehicle.
Okay, yeah, 7 crystal control transmit channels that are selectable on the front panel, as you can see from the video, and then the tunable receiver, as was standard for the MC series of that those years, 64, 65, 63, the MC5. And unlike the MC5, and we talked about that last week, the switch below the S meter, rather than being the tone alert, which Paul demonstrated for us last week. If you have a chance to look at the archives or listen to the archives from last week, you will hear it. It has now been replaced with the bullhorn, probably something the FCC was a little more happy with, I suppose. But give us one more transmission, Paul. See if the radio behaves, but it appears that it didn't quite warm up or fire up correctly for the transmit side this time, which you will hear when you listen to the archives. The General Radio Telephone MC6, it is radio number 1. Thanks for bringing it by, and back to you.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is the archives last week, and the BS2 sounded terrible. I got a few radios to work on. Thanks for checking it in, Dan.
All right, and thanks for bringing it by, but that's why we're here. Sometimes you need to put the radios on the air to find out if they just need a little bit of tweaking and peaking, or a little tube replacement, or maybe just sometimes if the tubes need to be reseated. But that's why we do that, just to make sure that they get the love and attention that they are due. The Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radios, we are listening for yours.
Break OTR.
And there is a break OTR. I've got you. Let me grab SWL72, who is checking in over at oldtuberadio.net. That is Radio Boy. We've got you in there. Also, wave a hand to the Timtron up somewhere near Portland, who is listening via the internet tonight, and perhaps wondering if there's going to be any e-skip at all. I was reading somewhere where they said 2016 was the worst year in a long time for e-skip on the 6-meter band, and I would confirm that also for probably 10 and 11 meters here. Just not too good, but we can always hope. The breaking station, it sounds like that is 77. Hello, Dennis.
Well, hello back to you, Dennis. Good to hear you in there. It's been a while. Been a busy and crazy month, but here we are, checking in Harvey and Bill and the boys down there, handiwork there, the Cam 88, Cobra Cam 88, and all the tubes are glowing and keeping us warm here on the radio bench there. Go ahead.
Yeah, all the tubes are glowing and doing a good job and sounding most excellent. On the headphones here, you sound every bit as good as when I'm listening to the guys on 75 meters and they are talking on their Collins, like the KW1s, where it's just super smooth audio and not a speck of flat topping or overmodulation or anything of that sort. Bringing up a shot of the Cobra Cam 88, and we'll switch the video over to that while you give us another transmission. And I don't know if there's a secret. If there's a secret you care to divulge on how you get such great audio out of the radio, we are all ears. Back to you and the Cobra Cam 88.
Well, that would be. I think it's SWL 20. And a match made in heaven with the EV664 Electro voice. It weighs about 5 pounds. I need an extra spring and an extra support to keep this thing hanging on the boom. I mean, it's a heavy microphone, and just amazing. It really works well with this radio. And also coming back to you on a ground-mounted vertical. So the ground plane radios are exactly a quarter wavelength off the deck. They're about 9 feet. You can reach up and touch them. And the radiator, the driven element, goes up 22 feet from there. So it is ground-mounted, freestanding, no guide wires, and completely out of sight from the road in the driveway. So successful day, and it was a beautiful day out there to be doing antenna work there. Go ahead.
That is for sure. It's getting to be antenna weather. I've looked into the S-meters, S9 modulation up to 5/9, and a just about full quieting signal. And if you listen to the archives at oldtuberadio.net, clicking on the archive button or maybe a replay of the video, you will be certainly be pleased with the audio coming out of that Cobra 88. Well, I switched the video over, the shot over to the microphone that you mentioned, because people might say, okay, what is, that's not your regular Turner +2 or a D104. And no, it isn't. It is a hunk of metal, like Dennis said. And the one we're showing, it has a switch. I wonder if you have this, like I'm going to say it's their in-out or on-off switch. Not sure if that's the same as what you have, and if you had to do some fancy wiring, or maybe you're keying it that way. I don't know. But a good combination. One of the solid metallic microphones with the radio makes a good combination. And I was going to say a good job on the antenna too, because the signal is sounding and looking good over.
Well, glad to hear that, especially from yourself there, Dennis. Yeah, the effort paid off well, far better than I had imagined, and the receive on it is even amazing. The noise level is pretty much nil. But as we know, a lot of the better receiving antennas are usually very close to the ground. Yeah, the microphone and the radio really do work well together, and well, I'm just grateful I can be out here and enjoy the radio and share it with everyone else. We sure appreciate everything you do, Dennis.
Okay, and before you go, just in case anyone's listening or has a Cobra Cam 88 that's tuning in from wherever they might be listening. We showed the microphone that Dennis is using, the EV microphone, and the other thing, is there any amplification between the microphone and the rig, like a say, Demco modulator? And then also I see there is a switch, and I'm going to say it's a range boost. You might let us know if you have that on or off. So if anybody wants to try and create the sound that we're hearing, they know sort of how to set up the radio. So again, the question is, do you have any amplification between the microphone and the radio, audio-wise, and range boost? Where would you set it, or where do you have it set over?
Yeah, the switch on the microphone is there on this microphone, and it's an on-off switch for the audio. The gain, or the what do they call it? The range boost. 1, 2, 3, 4. Range boost off 5, 6, 7, 8. Range boost back on 9, 10, 11, 12. And the microphone is going through a Behringer tube preamp before it goes into the radio. I can give you that model number. It is a Behringer Ultra Gain 100 tube preamp before it goes into the radio.
Okay, and that helps the gain. Because I was going to say, that's the gain on those microphones sometimes is a little low, but your range boost is perfect. It adds that, it helps the low frequency, brings everything up really nice. And that is not a bad way to go where you're using a mic preamp or something where you have a little bit of leeway on the amount of gain you can put into the radio so that you may or may not need any types of amplification that the radio will do. I'm doing a similar thing here. Anyone watching the video, this device right here is similar to what Dennis is doing. It's a tube. It actually has I think it's a 12AX7. I could be wrong about that, but it's a tube preamp microphone. So the Heil runs into that and then through some of the other gear, but it really gives me some nice settings. It gives some good warmth typically because they'll have output levels. They might have a thing for you to dial your impedance, and it also has some cool VU meters. So you just can't have too many tubes and cool little wiggling meters when you're doing the old tube radio stuff. Radio number 2, the Cobra Cam 88. Good job all the way around, Dennis, between antenna and radio, and sounding most excellent.
Okay, Dennis, we sure appreciate it, and the more tubes, the merrier. And nothing sounds like a tube. Once again, 73s everyone on the net and everyone listening here locally, and enjoy the rest of your evening. 77 will be listening.
And I do want to say hello to our listeners over at oldtuberadio.net. Hello to Robert and Teresa out in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Our station in Santa Catarina. I have not seen you online for a long time, so glad to have you back. Schwenksville, Pennsylvania, Fresno, of course. Neil out there in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Our New York station showing up as Derby tonight. Albury's in Fredericks, Maryland, Frisco, Texas. That's Thomas. Tacoma, Washington, hello to you. That could be Timtron out there, and of course the unknown SWL, of which there are many. Also, we might want to address tonight locally the antenna ordinances, if there is such a thing. Typically, what there are restrictions or ordinances on the height of a building and structures attached to that building. And unfortunately, in Fresno, it's pretty much set at about 35 feet. So depending on where your roof line is and all of that, when you have a structure attached to your building, your edifice, it becomes part of that structure, and in theory, succumbs to the 35 foot height limitation. I think the actual, I was reading on some city code, they call it 2.5 stories. 35 feet. They mentioned 2.5 stories. So I don't know exactly what a story, the altitude of a story would be, but for residents, there you go. Anyway, if anybody has questions or comments or things about antennas and antenna heights, we can certainly discuss that here tonight in the Old Tube Radio Network. In the meantime, let's let the jingle singers do what they do best, and we'll be back with your radios after this.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you, and
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
45.
And hello, 45. Paul, I hear you good on this radio, over.
I hope this is a little better than the last one. Does it sound better?
Yeah, it sounds good. The other one sounded good. It just unfortunately had the oscillation coming in with your audio. It had a great signal on the meter. This one is nice and clean, over.
Okay. Oh, well, I'll just do some adjusting on it. I haven't cleaned it up in a while, so it'll probably help a lot. But anyway, I want to switch off, which I very seldom have these figures, but the Lafayette Comstat 25A.
Okay, the 25A. I think our last Lafayette was that checked in from wherever it was with the 25B, which is a whole lot different than the 25A. I will see if I can grab a picture of that Lafayette. But nice, smooth, good audio and good signal. I'll check you out on the S meter, and hopefully we have a shot of the 25A. That is the 25A is your standard mid-60s. Full metal old tube radio look to it. It's a great radio. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if you're bringing it up with a picture up. It's coming up right now. That's it. You got it. 100%. That's not the one I'm talking about, but that is it. I'm just noticing that red light on the right-hand side, the modulation light. It's glowing pretty well, so this thing's got all the goodies. Everything's working on it. The estimator's working. The lights are working excellent. This thing was manufactured in Japan by Panasonic. They did a fine job of putting these things together, I'll tell you. It has, like I say, an RF meter, which is working well, reading you well, PACB switch, and the normal squelch controls on the thing, fine-tuning and channel control and all that. And it's got a front-powered speaker on the thing, which is very, very good. And then it has a range boost, so that's going to have to be a different story to talk to you. Right now, I'm not using the range boost. I'll kick it on in a minute here.
Okay, without the range boost, sounding pretty good, actually. And yeah, showing that the power input for that could go 115 volt AC or 12 volt DC. Probably had a different plug that would go in the back. Full 23 channels, the S meter, the range boost, which we'll get a demonstration of in just a moment in the PACB. I want to say the Comstat series was probably the first ones where Lafayette was not producing in the U.S. There was a Comstat 19 and a 23, I think, but I'm not sure about those. But for sure, from this point after they had started importing the radios. There is also an operator's manual at oldtuberadio.com if you ever need it. So we'll go back to you for transmission. I'll even sneak over to the receiver here, do a little zero beat, see how well the crystals are hanging in there.
Okay, and I'll switch it over to the on the thing. Did it make quite a difference?
Let's try that again. You know, I unfortunately was zero beating you at the time, so I missed the switch over. You are very close to being on frequencies, about maybe 300 cycles high, but right on frequency. So try the, sorry about that, but try the range boost circuitry again if you can, and I'll have it on AM so that everybody can hear it this time.
Okay, well, I got it on now. This is what I'm having to do. Of course, I didn't have a microphone when I got the radio. So I had an Aesthetic D104 M6B power mic sitting around, so I hooked it up to it. When I change the range boost, I have to turn the microphone accordingly. When I boost it on, I have to turn the microphone down. When I leave it on, I have to turn the microphone up. So it's really not designed for this type of operation. So I think I'll switch it back to stock. But anyway, that's it.
Okay, I'm going to say where you have it right now is not bad. It does not sound like it's pushing the radio too hard. I do not hear excessive, sometimes it gets mushy or room noise. For the microphone you have, or the way the microphone is set, it's pretty darn good, over.
Yeah, okay, I went back to just a stock mic with the range boost off. So I don't know whether to change it or not. But no, these are really good microphones, I'll tell you. The only thing is with being amplified like this, it's not designed to have to do all this to it. But anyway, it's talking. That's the main thing.
It is talking. I had to lean over the table here and make an adjustment. Yeah, it's a slight difference. The range boost doesn't give a lot. Sometimes you can switch, depending on how they're adjusted internally, you can switch them in and you'll get a lot of gain. So it's very subtle. So either way sounds good. So I'm going to say if you had an amplified microphone, you probably wouldn't need it at all. But with that one, sounds good either way. If you need a little bit of boost, or it's a bit noisy, or somebody says you're an S5 or something, then that range boost would probably help. Our third radio of the evening, checking in, beginning at 8:52, is Paul on his Lafayette Comstat 25A. And that is in Sam's photo fax number 20 on page 61. Back to you for another transmission. Nice all-around sounding radio.
Okay, well, I got an older one now sitting here. I hope it decides to operate. I got an HG20C. That's a much older radio. This radio is not really that as far as it's 1968. It's fairly old radio because they sure come a long way from 68 to 78 or so. All right, thanks a million for checking in, Dennis.
All right, sounding good, Paul. I might have some info for you here from the crossband. We'll be right back. I missed that. Over. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you. KB6 GFD. All right. Harvey was filling me in on some residential altitudes. I think they said the average height of a single story for residential is 10 feet. Commercial is 12 feet. And who knows what some of the really old buildings in downtown where you get those second-story mezzanines that are way up there. So thanks for that information. We are, as we often do here at the Old Tube Radio Network, looking for your radio check-ins, your old tube radio check-ins. And we welcome, like we say, welcome anybody to participate. There's no special numbers, no secret handshakes. You do not have even ever have to have checked in on the net before. But if you find yourself in possession of, Uncle Ebenezer's tube radio from the garage sale, this is a place to bring it by, and we can check it out for you. In the meantime, it's a top of the hour here, the Old Tube Radio Network. We'll let the jingle singers bring us into the next hour.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And I want to say hello to Brian, who is listening in from Bloomington, Indiana, enjoying his Drake Beeline. And if you're at oldtuberadio.net, there is, courtesy of Brian, the Beeline station, along with, looks like maybe a Kenwood there, I'm not sure. And the TS 2000 and maybe another station, but that is your basic real radio when it comes to the amateur side. The L4B amplifier and the Beeline. So he is having some fun down on the 75 meter band. Anybody who has the ability to SWL, check out the AM windows at 3880. 3870, 3885 between the West Coast and the East Coast. TS 940. Okay, I'm not real good. Brian, I just picked up a 950 not too long ago, and I never had a lot of Kenwood stations. I do have a 2000, by the way, which has the dreaded pre-driver issue, so it is not working on the HF side. But that also does, the Kenwoods do quite well on AM, the 940s and the 2000s, 950s, of course. So Kenwood's always pretty good on AM. All right, well, thanks for that, and I just wanted to, thanks for letting me put your shack up there, because it's the Drake. We have one of our stations did not check in tonight, also has some Drake equipment, and I think he does a 40-meter net where he uses that quite often. The Old Tube Radio Network, real radios glowing in the dark. We are listening for your radio check-ins.
Question, Dennis.
Hopefully this is the answer frequency. Go ahead with the question.
Have you heard anything about on the antenna bit?
Okay, well, I've heard about one of the local issues that we are having with antennas, but I personally have not heard anything changing with antenna height restrictions or anything of that nature. Over.
With guideline wires or anything, right?
No, but I mean that is just me personally, that I have not been aware that there may or may not have been any changes to local ordinances, as it were.
No, I just figured, well, if anybody knows, you would.
Yeah, typically, you know how ordinances go. They sort of sit around like a tree, and then occasionally they might jump out in front of you and do bad things. So it depends. But in theory, the ordinance, and we were talking about earlier about the 35-foot height limitation for building a structure, residential structure, between, 2.5 or 3.5 stories at 35 feet. So in theory, anything attached to that structure, attached to that building, needs to fall within that 35-foot limitation because it becomes part of the structure. There is some work in Congress right now, I believe, they're trying to repass a bill that came up, and I don't have the number and I don't have the exact verbiage, where they would try to make some allowances for amateur radio operators and to allow them to have the ability to put up a station or an antenna that would allow them to properly communicate, especially for emergency communications. And this would apply for anybody, because a lot of times if you move into certain places that have an HOA or they have CCNRs or whatever, they have a no antenna limit, but that's something that's within that community, within that homeowners association or the CCNRs of the tract. And if you go, especially in Fresno, if you drive by some of the north end newer tracks in town, you will not see any antennas on the roofs at all, satellite dishes or anything, because the homeowners associations or the CCNRs of that area do not allow anything to be attached to the roof. But that's, that's something that you kind of sign into when you buy a house there. So there's all sorts of little gotchas that you got to be careful.
I remember one time here in the state of California, at one time you couldn't even sell a house without having a television antenna on top of it.
And yeah, back in the early days, what was it? They were on Channel 30 was on Channel 12, so things change.
All right, I just curious. I'll be back in the future with some radio.
All right, and we are standing by for any and all radio check-ins on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Hey, Dennis, I called 26 last night. They have a number and a internet address that they say if you got anything, give them a ring, and I called them. They took my name and number, and they're going to, I think they're going to be wanting to follow up on this, man. Would you want to be the spokesvoice for this?
Well, I could. Like I said, I don't know of any. Probably what they would do, since they would probably check with the city planners, cities first, to see if there's anything that's changed. We do have new administration here in town. Again, it's hard for me to believe that they would be spending time, money, and effort for anything like that, just because there's so many other things that they could be doing. If anything, I would see them going the opposite way. But again, between homeowners associations and CCRs, there are a lot of different restrictions, but of course the city has its own, and they're all written down somewhere, has its own ordinances. So probably what they would end up doing would be checking to make sure that there isn't something that the city is now doing to change or modify, as it were, any current city ordinances.
Yeah, they said, the one that answered the phone, she'd said that she had no say-so or control over it, and that if they needed to talk to somebody, who could they get a hold of? And I said, well, call me and I'll let you know. But I told her that, they're starting to nitpick about stuff that's really irrelevant, because what they were nitpicking about wasn't unsafe. It was up as far as structurally, it was structurally sound. It wasn't in danger of falling. And I said, this come out of the blue. So it's like, there's many of us out here that are ham operators and CB operators. And I said, everybody's been doing everything as business as usual until this. And she said, she goes, let me pass this on to who it matters. And she said, we'll be in touch.
All right. Well, I'd say that's worth a shot there. And there are some other, not antenna-related issues, but going on with the city where they have the power to make things difficult. And one thing that we've run across at the radio station was we do some live coverage of events around town. And typically, here we go, in the Tower District, they have parades like Mardi Gras, and there's some other parades that they do annually. And last year and this year, they have put on some restrictions that, even though they're not saying you can't do the parade, it makes putting that parade on more difficult. And the restrictions I'm talking about, where they need police or protection, or they have to block off roads. And normally you would get a permit, you would go in advance and say, we're going to do this, and they do all the permits. Now they're saying, well, to do that, now it will cost you $15,000. It will cost you $10,000, where before it was costing a couple of $100. So they're not necessarily saying that you can't do something, but they're making it extremely difficult to do it, or they're changing the rules or modifying things that would make it not profitable or possible to do it anymore. So perhaps something like that could be happening, but I don't know. But the city has power in ways, going through the back door, if you will, or the side door, to, if not to stop something, to make it so that it's very hard to do.
Well, where there's will, there's a way. Overcome and adapt, and that's what we do. So bring it on. Once it's freestanding, they can kiss my butt. So other than that, I'll let you know if and when they get a hold of me. Who knows if they will or not. But I told them that in the past they had a bid on ham operators helping out for emergency issues, and I said, we're always here. And I said, when your cell phone and your internet goes down, what are you going to do? Who are you going to call? So it's going to be the ham operator as usual, but I'll let you know if they get a hold of me.
All right, good deal. You know how to get a hold of me, so we will see. We will see if things have changed. Hopefully not. Sounds like it could be an isolated thing, but even, like I said, the two issues that the parade people were having were both in the Tower District, and they were saying that some of the, especially if you're closing off Olive Avenue for a certain distance, and it's something you've been doing for years, but you start getting a couple of the newer businesses getting in there saying, well, we really don't appreciate having the street closed off all day because of the business, blah, blah, blah. Then they start trying to pull some strings, and then they start changing the rules, and they make things difficult for the people who've been putting on the parades and things. So they just say, you know what, we just can't do that. We just can't afford to do this anymore. And so they kind of get rid of things that way. And antenna restrictions could be the same way. We're sort of like, well, these rules have always been on the books, but we just haven't been worried about them because we've got better things to do. And, to communicate, sometimes you need to have your antennas at a certain height or a certain position, as long as they're safe and structurally sound. But again, they can just say, well, the rules say this, and make it very restrictive or hard, a lot hard to do, and where you just say, well, I'm just going to give up. But hopefully that's not the case. It is, let's see, we're 15 minutes after the hour here on the West Coast, where we originate the Old Tube Radio Network from, and we are looking for radio number 4.
45.
And looks like we might have it there. Paul has wired the coax. Speaking of antennas, he's changed the antenna to something new. Hello, Paul. If you can hear me, I'll give you a little chatter. Make sure it's not one of those tunable receivers that you need to tweak and peak a little bit. Where the dial is, it's supposed to point at 11, but it points at 13, perhaps. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Dennis. I don't really know what's going on with this thing. Right now. Well, so 1 out of 3 isn't too bad.
All right, I'm hearing you. I don't know if you are hearing me at all, but I am hearing a transmission here on 27085, over.
I'm hearing you just fine. It's definitely not on your end. It's on my end here. I don't know what's going on with it. It looks fairly good on a meter, but it drops off pretty heavy.
All right, quickly, since I can hear you, what device do you have there? We'll get it logged in. Or if you can take a transmission, I will get it logged in. I just need to know the model number, over.
Okay. It's an HE-20C.
Okay, Lafayette, their earlier models, they had an HA and an HE, and this is the HE-20 Charlie. See if I've got a picture of that. Yeah, it sounds like it's trying to warm up. Okay, I don't have an image right away, but I think that's a really cool, if I remember, one of their cooler looking sets. So give it a transmission if it's still going.
Okay. Yeah, I got the other one that I checked in here beside it, and different completely. I'd like to know what these things were manufactured in New York, or do you know where these earlier ones were made, Dennis?
I don't know. I know that Lafayette, on some of the earlier models, there was a company called DeWalt. I think it's DEWALD. And I believe DeWalt was making some of their radios. And I don't remember which models, if they were the HA or the HE or the HB series, but I can't confirm that would be one of those, so I'm not sure. But I think they had another group manufacturing the radios for them, but it was out of the U.S.
Okay, well, I got a 1964 date on the schematic, so that probably put us pretty close to it, I would think. Should be right on the money. So Sam's didn't change it. So that takes you 4 years before the Japanese ones were made, so I'm sure they weren't made in Japan. But like you say, you heard of somewhere else. So, like I say, it's got New York on the thing, but it doesn't say manufactured. It just says it's New York, whatever was that, they call it a depot or something like that. So I need to check on a little bit more. If you find any information, I'd be appreciated hearing about it.
Okay, and that is the... make sure I got the model number right. The HE-20C.
HE-20C, that's correct.
All right, if you've got the Universal Media Network, I've pulled up a shot as to what I think that is. And this is a radio I was thinking of. It has some strange designs. It's got sort of a trapezoidal speaker grill and the sort of frowny face tuning dial. And I always thought this was a cool radio.
Yeah, it's in there. I've got my photograph of this radio in there, as a matter of fact, on your web. So I know it's in there somewhere if you can find it.
Okay, it might be filed in a strange area, because I thought that we had one like that before, but I wanted to put up a representative of that. Looks like it's tunable receive. I can't see how many channels. Looks like it might be a 6-channel transmit. Audio sounds pretty good. It's getting occasionally I'll get some flat topping on it if you get too close to the microphone, but then if you get too far away from the microphone, it goes away. It reminds me of how the Hallicrafters on the carbon microphones work. So you have to find that sweet spot on the microphone.
Okay, well, I'm running on an overlap cheek, a static JE20 at me, but here. What? I'm sorry, JT30. That's the one they call harmonic microphone. Well, a lot of guys want this microphone. I don't think that. I don't get to it. It sounds all right.
Yeah, it sounds good. Just if you back away, it'll drop off quite a bit. I just did a frequency check. That radio is right on frequency. I did not have to move the dial at all. It can't be any closer to 27085 if you tried.
Well, that's a plus on the thing, I'll tell you right. Probably this microphone, this AC20C, the microphone on the thing, JT30, is probably worth more than the radio. They go pretty high on eBay. I don't think this one would, though, but it's a crystal element microphone.
Okay, I was going to say it sounded like it might be a crystal or a carbon microphone just from the proximity effect and the fact that you can flat top the thing if you get too close. But I always thought that was an interesting design because you figure they have some type of drawing board where they take a look at how they're going to piece the radio together. And I'll see if I can find out some information if this was one of the DeWalt radios or who Lafayette was contracting on this one. But it is working and is our second Lafayette of the evening. Over.
Okay, I bet it's been 20-some years since I checked this radio in. I don't know. So it's working at all. I'm real happy. I'll be anxious to hear what it sounds like on the archives. Thanks again, Dennis.
Okay, yeah, it sounds good. And like I said, you can hear occasionally you'll get a little of the flat topping where your voice, the amplitude of your voice goes down just a little bit. But other than that, it's sounding good. And again, like I said, it's right on frequency. And I'd say it looks very similar to an HE20B. So I wonder what the upgrades were on the C model. And there was an HE20D, which is a completely different radio. And let's see, I want to check in, looks like X4000 has arrived over at oldtuberadio.net, so we'll get X4000 checked in. Good to see Brentwood on frequency.
Contact.
And the contact go, over.
70 checking in late, Dennis.
Okay, not a problem. I am, as we speak, pulling out page 3, where I am going to put the X in the square and then also go to the big board so that everyone in the world can see that you are now checked in.
I'm feeling special. Thank you, sir. Break OTR.
All right, thank you, Mark. And the break OTR, hello, Chris. Hello, 37, over.
Phone.
Helicopters model CB3A. This in here is also with the original handheld carbon type microphone. Over.
Okay, that's a good juxtaposition from our earlier radio, which is probably put out about the same time, 1963 or so. From the Lafayette has a similar sound, and we go from the Lafayettes to the Helicopters. This is their model. They called them the Little Phone. It was a series of radios back in the early 60s, and this is one of the earlier models of that, the 3A. Back to you.
Okay, well, I got this one checked in. I got a few coming in behind it here somewhere. I just got to get down here and start flipping switches.
Okay, well, I hope you know which switches need to be flipped. Just want to let people know that we are talking to you on your Helicopters CB3A, and it sounds good. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much. Break OTR.
And break OTR, go ahead one more time.
That was a quick flip switch, huh? All right, Dennis, this time here, radio here. This one here is the G PowerMate, made by Gem Marine Products. 23 channel tuber that glows in the dark. Also, this here, we're running this here with the amplified D104 or pop microphone. Over.
Okay, and that one has a little bit more audio, I guess I would say, than the Helicopters, but it sounds good here on Channel 11. And I noticed the picture shows that the radio is on Channel 11, so we're good all the way around. You are Radio 6 with that one. Over.
All right, well, thank you, and I got to change the coax this time, so it's not just a flip of the switch.
Okay, well, plenty of time to do that here in the Old Tube Radio Network. The Gem Marine G PowerMate, which I think is also one of the import chassis similar to like the Robin T123B and maybe the T-Berry, but nice audio and sounding very loud. Thanks for bringing it by.
Break OTR.
Break OTR. It looks like you may have discovered another one.
Yes, this one we was having trouble with last week. Are we up to snuff on the audio this time?
Yeah, it sounds pretty darn good. Over.
Okay, well, this is my Courier Royale, a 23 channel tuber that goes in the dark with all the knobs and a couple of switches on it and the blinking lights and of course the hidden knobs in the back. Over. And also this here is with the handheld. Well, they're all handheld, but it's on the D104 Lollipop microphone, powered, amplified.
Okay, and yes, it is definitely better than last week. It doesn't have the little... Last week it sort of was fuzzy around the edges. There was missing some crispness to the audio, which is certainly there this week. So I think just the a little layoff. You know, sometimes everybody just needs a vacation now and then.
It must have been a bad... Maybe he had a headache or something other that day. Running a slight temperature, get it?
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is running a slight temperature. It needs to... These radios need to run full temperature. Courier Royale, with the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter on your receive side, 11 tubes to make the thing great, and a service manual for that radio available at oldtuberadio.com. You are Radio 7.
7? Oh, okay. Well, we're working our way up.
That's good. The more the merrier, we say in the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for bringing it by.
Okay, Dennis. Well, I'll be back with another here in just a bit.
And I have some interesting sound. I'm listening to the sound of the receiver in my headphoniums here, and it has that sound. It reminds me that we might have some conditions. I don't know. Maybe this is going to be the E-skip night tonight. I like the way the noise floor sounds tonight, so we'll see what happens.
Break OTR?
I hear a break OTR. Please proceed.
Hey, well, yeah, this
Well, it started out good. OTR standing by. I hope there is not any type of smoke and flames going on in that Radio Shack right now. We're standing by, Chris.
All right, are you hearing me at all?
I heard you that time. I heard about 1 second of something before, and then I didn't hear anything. So I'm here. Whatever you just did, I'm hearing it fine.
I gave it a slap on top.
Okay. Well, I hear whatever it is again. So let's see what we can come up with. Over.
All right, well, anyway, this is my my Chris 23 Plus, the CB with a handheld original stock microphone. Over.
Okay, 100% that time. I think what happened before is, well, it keyed and then it went totally away. Sometimes you can key up and the audio won't be there, but there was no signal. So you have 100% this time. So we'll log it in as radio number 8, the KRIS 23 Plus. Take another transmission. Keep an eye on the various wiggle meters and mod meters, and we'll see how it works again. You cut out. Can you hear me?
Hello, there it goes. It's working. And then it's on again. Hello.
All right, so maybe you can see if there's an, I think is that the one you have to switch the meter from S to RF?
Yes, but I've got it whereabouts, I can actually do it, but if I flip it to RF, I can't transmit, I can transmit when I go RF, but if I put it over to the signal strength, whatever, I can't transmit it for some reason, I don't know. It's kind of confusing, but I've got it on the right spot now so I can hear it, and without flipping switches, I just had to slap it harder.
Okay, because I thought if you have it on the RF side, you should see it at least assume some position that isn't on one side or the other and wiggle around a bit, the old wiggle meters we say, or the mod lights, because you could see a mod light but have no RF output, which is what is happening. You were losing not only the audio but the RF output as well. But the last couple of transmissions have been good. Over.
Yeah, well, the weird thing about I kept hearing this tick, 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 tick noise when I was trying to figure out what's going on here. I'm hearing something. I'm talking to you, but apparently I wasn't getting out.
All right, unless a relay isn't happy and if it's a relay switching, you'll know because you'll hear a clunk on the radio. Electronic switching, you will know because you pull the microphone, your receive audio goes away. So could be a microphone contact that's not quite there, or a relay that's not doing its thing. But it sounds like you've got it pinned down where you hear it clicking, or you do not see the RF output meter do its thing. It's good now.
Yeah, I'm seeing it showing everything's working, even up on my meters up on top now. But anyway, like I said, this was the Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
And good. I think that is also one of the import radios of the early 70s. It is the AM plate modulated platform, so that's what sounds so good. It's got 11 tubes, and looks like we have, and it will go base or mobile, believe it or not. So maybe it just needs to go in the mobile and get shooken up a little bit. Operator's manual available at oldtuberadio.com. Thanks for radio number 8.
Okay, Dennis, thank you for being there. I'll be back with another here in just a bit. I got to let it warm up.
That's a good thing. You have to have it more than a slight temperature.
Yes, I almost want to heat up a cup of chocolate with it.
Oh, that sounds good.
And there you go, with marshmallows.
Station go, over.
Dennis, I'd like to check in my Messenger 2 Johnson.
We can do that. We do like the E.F. Johnson radios. It will be our first one tonight, and we don't get a lot of the Messenger 2s. We get a lot of the 223s and the white face. So key down, give us another key down on your E.F. Johnson Messenger black face.
Gotcha. My main question is, how does it sound? I just went through the microphone. I had some problems with it. I changed the plug on it and cleaned up the contacts and stuff, so I want to make sure that it's working right.
It's working great. The audio is good fidelity. I'm going to say it's probably 75 to 80% modulated, but I hear you just fine. There is no crackling. There is no squealing. I think you have done it.
Got it. Now, the main question, am I on frequency?
That I can check as well. I checked the oldtuberadio.net. Larry, radio ham guy who is out of Michigan, I think. But anyway, he used to run around in the factory over there at E.F. Johnson, and I think he said the one thing that you could count on would be that if it was running the original crystals, that it might be off frequency. So Johnson had a problem with their crystals. So go ahead and take another transmission long enough for me to do a zero beat on the SSB portion, and we'll find out where you're at, over.
You got it. Yeah.
I've got 2 channels that I don't have any transmit on. I have
Receive. Plus, I have the switch where I can switch over to the VFO receive. But I was just curious if I was on the money on this one.
Not too far. I zero beat at 27.084.4. So that puts you 600 cycles low, which is not too bad. And I think the FCC allows you 700 back in the day. We are showing a picture of the Johnson Messenger 2 up at the video with the original, what we call the little ice cream cone microphone. But yeah, you're good on frequency.
Hey, I appreciate it. And this is a very clean one. This one's in pristine shape. Okay, back to you.
All right, is this Philip?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm not used to hearing your audio at 7 rather than 12.
Yeah, I thought I'd tone it down a little bit.
All right, good choice for radios tonight. That's our first E.F. Johnson, the Messenger 2. That originally sold for $169.95. It says it can go base or mobile, depending on the power cord you have. There is, believe it or not, there's a schematic for that radio over at oldtuberadio.com. Sounding good. Thanks for bringing by Radio 9.
You got it. Thank you.
And what number was that? 9?
Oh, that was Radio 9.
Okay, I'm still standing by.
Now, they showed 2 catalog numbers of that, a 242162 and a 242163. So I wonder if you actually had to order, if you wanted the 12-volt version, the 115-volt version, if that was a different radio rather than a different cord to make it work.
Are you talking about in the Johnson?
Yeah.
I actually have the 12-volt power cord. I've got the plug and everything.
Okay, so you can do it all on the same radio.
Yes, sir.
All right. I love the Old Tube Radio Network. I always find out good stuff. Thanks.
Hey, I have one other question. Is there any way you could look up and figure out or get an approximate of the year the radio was produced through the serial number?
Oh, let's see. Am I showing? I'm not showing a date for these, but I think they went to the 223 in 1969 or 68. So I want to say those probably had a good 3-year run. And Larry is not online tonight. I bet he would know. That is a Radio Ham guy. He occasionally listens in at oldtuberadio.net, but he's not out there tonight. So I'll try and remember that question if there's a way to tell.
And if so, I'll try to catch you on the ham frequency, and I'll give you the serial. Maybe you guys can figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes they have a way of checking that stuff. So, okay, good deal.
Thank you, sir.
25.
Hello, 25, over.
Well, we just finished the movie and didn't want to step on anybody else's foot, but is the radio check-in opportunity open?
The radio check-in opportunity is open at the Old Tube Radio Network, where real radios glow in the dark. And if you would be so kind, you might have Radio 10.
Roger. Radio 10. Wow, I remember one night in the honor of SWO number 1, I believe we had. Well, I can't remember, but I think there was a lot of radios, well over 100, I believe. Anyway, I'm honored to check in the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB Sidebander 2-piece radio, with the on-the-air light, which is emulating. Speaking to you on with the non-amplified banana mic. I think that came with the kit back in the 60s or whatever. But anyway, boy, what else can I tell you? The VFO 23 channel. I think it's 11. What was it? Somebody just came in here behind me here, and Jim, you want to help me check in this radio? Come here. No, come here. Say hello to Dennis.
Hey, Dennis, it's the banana mic, man. I'll tell you what, I'm sitting on the Browning 3-piece radio. Anyway, but I'm sitting there, I just walked in here, and Jerry's checking it in. But what a blast. Always good to check in these old tube radios.
Anyway, sorry for the long G there, Dennis, but anyway, that's about it. And good evening to the rest of the SWOs.
All right, it's good and it's good enough and sounds good. General, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB two-piece radio, always sounding good, great audio. The one I'm showing is with the D104, but I understand that yours has the sort of Browning style, or the was it Electro Voice, or Shure made for Browning. They call it the banana style microphone, which is always a good choice for that radio, kind of tailored for the Browning audio sound, and it does a great job of picking up you and your SWL out there.
Thanks, Dennis, for checking it in, and Jimmy, want to say good night to Dennis.
All right, you guys. I don't get a chance to do this very often, but I'm going to stumble out and head for the barn. Anyway, Dennis, good to hear you. We got to get together one of these days and act like an old tube radio friend.
Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
37.
And Breaker acknowledged, yeah, first produced in 1972. When they took the Mark II and combined all the extra pieces that it had, and the Mark III SSB, a great radio for them, a good run up through about 1976, when they had to go 40 channels, and the Mark IV and the Mark IV-A were coming out. Thanks, Jerry and Jim, for your check-in of the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, and it looks like we have Radio 11. Hello, Chris.
Thank you, Dennis. This is SWL 37. We are going to check in on my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A 24-channel tube model on this one here. This one here also is with the stock microphone. Over.
All right, it's always hard for me to believe that is stock audio, but then again, we've heard many general radio telephones, and we know what they can do. This one proves it quite well. If you're at the YouTube video, you are seeing a picture of a Super MC11A from General Radio Telephone, and when I stop talking, you will hear the audio from a radio like that.
Yeah, this one right here, mine. Yeah, no, this is totally a stock microphone.
the radio is actually stock. There's no Harvey range boost on the back of it or anything. It's just linear lungs here and everything just to get it going.
And it's doing a good job, as it always does. What can we tell you about the Super MC11A that you don't already know? 9 tubes, the modulator final there, the ECLL 800. It's probably a good bet. That's one of the reasons it's so loud. Had a couple of transistors thrown in there for good measure as well. Radio 11 doing a good job. Thanks for bringing it by.
Okay, Des, well, as you know, that was it for mine. And, I'm sitting here looking at my meters up here. This thing does have a lot of audio in it, doesn't it? I'm looking here at my modulation meter on my SWR watt meter calibration thing up here. And it's got separate watts, separate modulation, separate for calibrating. It definitely swings up there, and I've got it tuned for another radio, which cuts out a lot more than this in here. And this thing here is swinging all the way up to about a 50. And if I had it set right for this thing, it'd be hitting all the way over to the other side.
Yeah, I have a feeling if you have an RMS-style meter, you will see a little bit of movement, and probably in the forward direction. If you have a PEP watt meter, you're going to see quite a bit of movement in the forward direction. But either or regardless, it just sounds loud. Regardless of which way it's moving, it's a good radio.
Yeah, this here's got 3 separate meters. One for wattage, which that one's swinging also. One for the modulation, that one's definitely swinging. And the SWR, it just stays in one spot flat.
Hopefully it is flat on the good side.
Yes, it is. I have checked it numbers of times to make sure that it does work. I flip the switch once in a while and check it and make sure, and it keeps showing flat. So even on the other radio, the big one there, I checked that there, even with the built-in SWR meter on that radio, and it comes up flat also. So something must be working right.
It's definitely working right. Thanks, Chris. The jingle singers approve. And they're tapping on the glass, and they want to sing, so let's let them do it.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
39.
And in wonderful Fresno, California, the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello, 39 over.
Hey, this is the Courier 1. I think it was probably the first Courier.
With a number like that, I know Hallicrafters put out I think a CB1, which was their first, and then Johnson put out the Viking, or the Messenger 1. I don't know if they call it the Messenger 1 exactly. So you would think that Courier, kind of following in that tradition of Class D 11-meter radio, might do the same thing with their Courier 1. And boy, does it sound great for Radio 12. Over.
Oh, good. I'm glad it sounds great. It was manufactured around 1961.
All right, good. I'm glad you gave us a clarification on that, because I think our database at oldtuberadio.com says 1968, and we all know that couldn't possibly be correct. So there has been a lot of audio stored up on that radio all these years, and it's just finally getting out, because it sounds great.
Yeah, it happens to be my favorite radio right now, since it's the only radio I have that works.
It's always easy. I found the same thing. It's always easy to get on your favorite radio list, or basically any favorite list, when you find something that one that works well and doesn't give you any hassles.
Yeah, this one both transmits and receives, and the other ones either transmit or receive, but not both.
All right, sounds like you have to do a pairing like a Browning. Get the one that receives and one that transmits, and hook them together somehow. I think in theory, as long as we hear the transmitter, we can check it in. And we've had some people do that, where they say, well, the radio is only, I can't hear you, but it's only transmitting, and they'll do a little coax switch where they receive on another radio. But as long as we're hearing the radio that transmits, we can check it in regardless of whether it receives or not. Now, of course, it makes sense that we couldn't check in a radio that just received only because we could never hear it. Over.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about checking in one that doesn't receive, but probably won't get around to it anytime soon.
Okay. For those who are over at oldtuberadio.net and are taking a look at the very cool-looking Courier One, or maybe they're over at Google YouTube, I am noticing if we have a similar version of the radio here up on the screen, there are what looks like two large rotary dials. One of them looks like it's illuminated and is a channel selector of sorts. And then there's another one next to that which doesn't appear to be illuminated, or maybe it has a light above it. Do you have a separate transmit and receive, so you have to dial in either or I'm just wondering, what is the other knob there closer to the S meter?
Yeah, the largest dial is the tunable receive, and the smaller dial with the numbers on it is transmit crystal.
Okay, so that's always a good indication, too, of an earlier 60s or even late 50s radio where you have separate transmit and receive. Of course, the transmit is crystal controlled, the receive not necessarily, and you would know because there'd be a continuous tuning and not clicking in. There is also a silver, I'm going to say it's a knob or a button or something above that larger dial. What is that? If I'm recalling correctly, that's actually a light that shines down on the dial, but I can't really tell from the 2D picture here.
Yeah, that's a hooded light, yeah, there are some other dials on here where you can actually tune a transmit fixed. You can tune it to transmit, just switch that dial, and I think it'll transmit and receive on a separate switch.
Okay, and looks like it does have, there's I want to say a crystal socket, or it looks like a crystal socket above the main transmit selector there, so a lot of times they have a position. Now, is there a spot switch where it allows you to say, okay, I've dialed in channel 10 and now I'm going to actually try and find it on my receive knob, or do they kind of leave you to your own finesse in making sure you can match the receive with the transmitter, or did they give you the spot switch or not?
Well, they have you can tune it a certain way to where it has a fixed receive also. So you can go either way. You can tune it a certain way and it will just receive on that channel, which it's actually separate from the transmit crystal. Or you can do the tunable receive, and the tunable receive is nice because if your station you're listening to is off frequency, you can actually tune it in.
Yeah, and of course, you know, back in the day, as we say now, that may have been an item because you were crystal controlled. Crystals tend to drift or can lose their way when they're trying to find the frequency that they're supposed to be. And that was also a good little trick, too. When the band was really busy, where there's a lot of skip, you get a station that was actually off frequency a little bit, and you have the nice receiver where you can tune off to the side. You can actually hear somebody that's below the noise floor if you kick off and pick up, you know, one of their side bands a little bit. That was always nice, having a tunable receive. I like that. Especially if you had a friend that was off frequency a little bit and the band was busy with skip, you could always kind of pull them out. So a very interesting radio. It almost looks like it was designed by committee, like they had 4 or 5 people go into rooms and say, build me a radio with things you want, and they came back and then tried to incorporate them all into the same radio. Steampunk for sure. We're talking about the Courier One. That is the radio that you're hearing when Dan keys up. Really nice audio, and I hope you will have a chance to hear it on the archives. You will be very pleased. It is Radio 12, and we will go back to you for a transmission.
Well, I'm very pleased that you can hear it.
Oh, yeah, I hear it very well. S9, a little bit over S9 on the meter. I don't notice, with the amount of audio coming through, I thought I might have seen a little bit of movement on the S meter, but I don't. But that's not a fault. It's one of those things. It sounds louder than it looks on the S meter. Very nice, and yes, I am indeed glad I can hear the Courier One. Thanks for bringing it by.
Okay, thank you.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Break OTR.
And hello, radio. The break OTR. Please proceed.
Okay. Well, as I wait for the train to go by, number 20 here. How does this one sound?
It sounds good. I did not take a look at the S meter. Not that I needed to. It's like, wow, I can hardly hear him. It's coming through quite well. The audio is good fidelity. And for Lucky Radio 13, and I'm assuming it is glowing in the dark, you can't go wrong.
Okay, well, it's kind of still a work in progress. It's the one you haven't heard in a long time. This is the General Radio Telephone Super MC100 prototype. I hadn't had it on the air because the receive crystal for 11 went off frequency so much I couldn't hear anybody. I had to go to 12 in detune 12 with the fine tuner to get 11. Then I had to switch back and forth, and I'm kind of lazy, so I didn't want to do that. I finally took it to the shop and went through it and got it back on frequency and went through all the crystals, and there are 23 transmit and 23 separate receive crystals in this radio. So it took a little while, but it's almost done. I still have a bunch of work to do, but the fact that it's the prototype and it was a work in progress at the factory, and it probably didn't really even get finished. So the fact that it's working, I'm happy.
All right, well, this is a good segue from the last radio we had, the Courier One, which I was sort of chiding Dr. Dan about how it sort of was designed by committee. This radio here that we're showing, and if you have a chance, even if you're local, go to oldtuberadio.net, take a look at the picture, or if you're watching the YouTube video, this is definitely a radio by committee, and Harvey is calling it the prototype, the MC100, because we are not quite sure if there is more than one of these. If this is the radio that was sitting on the boardroom table saying, we've got to do it. You know, Tram and Browning are killing us, and we got to do this one. And it just kind of grew and grew until it became the MC100. By the way, going back to how it sounds, just good fidelity audio, nice and smooth, nice and loud, and looking good on the S meter. So I'm glad it is back in line. Over.
Hey, Roger. Okay, well, this is a unique General radio. It's got the double turret tuner. It's got 13 tubes, of which 5 are new Vistor tubes. And there's no schematic, no tube layout of any kind, listing. So I have to assume they got the right tubes in there. The 2 main transmit tubes I know are correct, based on other General radios.
the Nuvistor tubes, basically that's all that can go in the sockets. It's got twin 6BQ5 or 7189 or the Russian tube, twin modulators in there. Then it's got 4 other miniature tubes, of which I'm not absolutely sure that's what goes in the radio, but that's what came in it.
Final tube.
And the driver, transmit oscillator driver, both have general radio telephone on the tubes. So they're basically original. The radio has 7 controls and 6 switches, twin speakers, one on each side of the 22-inch long radio, and 4 meters. Now, I know this is the prototype because it doesn't say general radio telephone on the front of the radio. I do have a poor but a good enough picture of it that shows where they put the words general radio telephone on the production radios. This doesn't have it. But it's definitely the general with those tubes in there, and it has an internal dummy load, about a 50 or so watt dummy load that you use to do tuning of the radio. You flip a switch on the back, and on that dummy load resistor, it says General Radio Telephone, Burbank, California. Now the meters should say that, but they don't. They are Japanese meters, KYORITSU, Kyoritsu, I guess, meters. The far left one is the S meter, which is an S meter. The next one from the left, going to the right, is totally blank. That is your wattage output meter, I've determined. The modulation meter, which is third from the left or second from the right, is actually a view meter from a stereo. And then the far right meter is the SWR meter, and it's a DC milliamperes meter. That's what they put in there while they were testing this radio and working on it. So that's why it's the prototype. The receive isn't really that good audio quality-wise, but I guess, Dennis, the transmitted audio is okay.
Yeah, transmitted audio is excellent, and you would think with the dual speakers that they were planning something grandiose for the receive there. Plus, it's got the Nuvistor. The Nuvistor tubes should be the little tiny ones. Have you checked to see, even though the meters are sort of prototypish, have you checked to see that all those switches and dials actually do something? Or are they just kind of the place holding in the prototype, for a layout saying this is, we're going to put 3 on this side and 3 on that side? I'm just wondering if you've checked out all the switches to see if they work. I also have a rear view of that radio, which I popped up while you were talking about the dummy load in the back. I wanted to see if I could actually see if it was just a bunch of resistors somewhere. And there it is. If anyone's looking at the video, there's the back view again. You can see the transformer, and there's some type of a plug plugged in on the back, and I think I can see the turret, the crystal turret in the tubes. So a strange radio indeed, but it works quite well. The audio is good. I hope you can hear this is the way I remember it. I don't think the audio changed at all. Oh, and the question I was going to ask earlier in the evening, I heard you testing something, and you were indeed between channel 11 and channel 12 or 11A. You were at 270890. So I just wonder if that was this radio, because I wasn't able to. I called you a couple times, but I wasn't sure where I should be for you to hear me over.
That was me being a little stupid. I was just checking the radio out, so I went to 12. Well, 12 was one of the channels that I wasn't able to get the correct transmit crystal for. It's also off frequency. It's at, instead of 105, it's at 090, so it's close to 11. So I noticed it after a while, then I changed to like channel 14. I'm going to put another mic on here and see what you think of it. Next key up will be with a different mic.
Okay, and we're archiving, recording, of course. That one is very mellow. It's not super high-pitched. It's not super low-pitched. And for your voice, it is not bad at all. So we'll see what the mystery mic is coming up here. And even though in our picture there's no microphone plugged in, it looks like there's two possibilities for mic jacks on the front.
Okay, this is a different microphone. What do you think of this?
Wow, it's sort of like the Goldilocks thing. This one is a lot brighter, has a lot more punch. So, and I'm listening on headphoniums. Someone listening on a speaker, they're going to hear probably a big difference because the other one's mellow, doesn't have the high tones. You know, I got so used to the mellowness of the other one. This one was a little jarring when it first came in. And I have a feeling if I listen to this for a while, when you go to the other one, I'm going to think, well, it sounds kind of muddy. So I've really avoided your question. And the answer is they both sound good. And the fact that, from what I'm hearing, there's a good enough difference, that's kind of nice, where you could keep your prior microphone as the rag chew mic, and you could keep this microphone with a little bit more, as Mr. Heil would say, articulation that would help out in DX situations. Over.
Okay. The first mic was a Turner Custom Special 3. Now, the Custom Special 1s have a certain preamp in them. Similar to either the Plus 3s or maybe the Plus 3Bs or the Super Sidekicks. They look kind of the same, all three of those. But the Custom Special 3 has a totally different preamp. And that's the mic I was using. This one is an amplified D104. Did I hear the other one?
No, we might be able to go back. And this one sounds the way I'm used to hearing you. The other one was mellow, and it cuts down the high ends. It's hard to say. I think people would think this microphone sounds louder because it's accentuating the mids and or the high mids. So I don't know. If you want to go back to the other one, we'll get another opinion. But yeah, the other one was just it puts a little mellow tone to your voice that I'm not used to hearing.
Okay, let me check this D104 out here. Okay, I'm not sure about the battery voltage, but it's at 1.5, and the mic gain on the radio is up at I think a little over 1/4, so I could crank it up a little more, but I'm not going to do that. The view meter modulation meter is not slamming over because there's adjustment to keep it from going all the way over. But hello, there it did it that time. But it moves. I like it. Anyway, the D104 is something that I really never put on here before. I just noticed that this one was wired for this type radio because it's the one I use on the General Radio Telephone BB30, which, by the way, only takes 2 mics. I put every mic I could think of on there to get some audio output on transmit. Nothing seemed to work. I was in desperate straits with that radio because I couldn't figure out why I had no transmit audio. Then I put a plus 2 desk mic on it, and it worked. And then I put a D104 on there, and it worked. And all the other dynamic mics and other type of mics, even hand mics, of any kind did not work. Just these two style mics work on the BB30. So I remembered today when I was coming out here that this mic was wired for that radio, and that radio and this radio are wired the same. Anyway, I'm going to put the other one back on just because I can, and we'll turn it back to you after that.
Okay, we'll do another A-B comparison mic check. But it's sounding good. The audio is nice and loud. It sounds good all the way around. And I'm going to say if you had this, or you have it on a watt meter, that you would be pushing the 4 watt RF out limit to the max, because I'm just looking at the S meter, and I think this is actually stronger than your Browning Golden Eagle or your Browning R68 T68. All right, you should have the other microphonium on, and we'll go back to you for transmission.
Hey, Roger. Got that mic on there, yeah. This is a Custom Special 3. The radio didn't come with a mic, but when I got the radio, I had to go get it. Well, I wanted to go get it. It was in Los Angeles. I didn't want them to ship it. So when I went and got it, I brought a dummy load, albeit a 5 watt dummy load, a watt meter, and this microphone. And I was spending a couple of nights in LA, as it turned out, after I won this radio on eBay. And so I set it up in the room, and I plugged this mic in, plugged the dummy load and watt meter on, and worked from the get-go. But I fried the dummy load. 5 watt dummy load. This does about 40 watts out.
I like the other microphone better. But that sounds good too, but I like the D104 better.
And then the request?
Okay, we got a request, so yeah, either or. It sounded like you may have increased the gain a little bit. I would definitely not bring any more audio gain. The radio could probably handle it, but it will get into that, fuzzy around the edges, more louder than it needs to be. The radio has nice audio and can sound quite mellow, so no need to overdrive it. So good stuff. All right, I'm going to stop talking here because we are getting late, but we did want to spend a little bit extra time with the MC100 because it is so rare. It may be the only one in existence, and it is so bizarre. You sort of wish there had been more around, so that you could get on eBay and you'd have the second one. Maybe so. We just don't know. So back to you, Harvey. There is actually let's go to the request because maybe it has something to do with what's going on here. Hello, request.
Well, hello and greetings from the radio lounge at SWL47. I just realized I didn't even check in yet. So please feel welcome to do that. Harvey. It's amazing. I'd rather listen to you describe your radio and the microphone than watch anything on TV. I don't know if that's a character flaw on my part or what. But quite honestly, it is more interesting to describe those radios, that radio, the microphone, than watch TV. So there it is. My request is I'd like to check in a Gun G11 and whenever you're done talking about your radio, please describe this one, because there isn't much more I can really say about it that I'm sure you can.
And that was a general radio that Harvey's got? My God, okay.
All right, Mike, you'll be Radio 14 coming up, and yes, that is the MC100 prototype. Maybe the only one in existence. All right, Harvey, we'll go back to you to finalize any items of interest. And you have sparked the imaginations of many with the MC100.
Okay, I'm back. I'm on my Tram TR27C. The prototype General Super MC100 has a receive situation where the receive is being kind of squished. It's it's very hard to hear people on it. I can hear Dennis and several other people if they're pretty strong, but Mike was a problem, so I went to this radio. It also has a very, very poor noise limiter, so I get a lot of static with it. However, I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to figure this puppy out eventually. But I'm on the Tram 27C now. So if somebody has questions, I can hear them now better.
Okay, well, I think it was mainly just some praise for the General Radio Telephone MC100, which is Radio 13, the Tram TR273, which is Radio 14, which we are showing now at oldtuberadio.net. And Mike, I stand corrected. Your Gonset is going to be Radio 15. Let's go over to Mike, and he'll take another transmission on the Gonset. That's the radio he was on when he was talking about your radio, Harvey, that we were having trouble hearing. So we'll see how well the Tram does on the receive side this time. Hello, SWL47. I hope you are still on the Gonset. Over.
Oh, yeah, we're still on the Gonset, and, well, Harvey, hopefully you can still hear me on this thing. I can't even imagine what I'm supposed to say about this thing. Harvey did such a good job as always, talking about all your other radios. I can't say much about this. It's a one-channel radio. It's got the Magic Eye tube, and that's it for my boring personality. Harvey, what else do you want to say about the Gonset?
What was that, Mike? It's hard for me to hear you. It's not really, I think, the General per se, apparently I'm getting a super high noise level. It almost sounds like somebody with a bad ignition system is parked out in front of my house. I'm getting it on this radio too, although the receive is kind of clear. I couldn't quite understand what you asked.
Okay, well, maybe I'll get that. So, OTR, this is my Gonset G11. I'm going to do some tap-dance here and try and describe the radio best I can. The thing that drew me to this was, of course, the Magic Eye, which was a major drawing feature for me. It's got I believe it's a 6ME5, which is the Pac-Man style Magic Eye tube. The louder you talk into the microphone, or the more you swallow, in my case, the more the mouth actually closes in on itself. Of course, this radio, I'm going to have to get up and look in the dark here. It says, it's not, oh my God, what is it? It's the channel that actually stands on the front. It does say channel 11. But it's 27.115. The front-end radios, I guess, they were only one channel. This is, well, the channel that the radio left at the factory, which was actually stamped on the front of the radio. Again, it's channel 11 and 27.115. Of course, that's not what we're transmitting on right now, which is what 27085. But I guess there's a little discrepancy between what perhaps Canadian frequency channel allocation and what we have in the U.S. But hopefully it's somewhat close to 27085 right now.
You have the Canadian version of the radio. I've also got one. Channel 8 says 27085 on the front.
So make sure you use the proper Canadian accent when you are tuning it. I've marked the Gonset G11 down as Radio 15, and I suppose out of all the radios you have, Mike, if you're going to try and have someone pull you out of a noise level, the Gonset probably is the not the choice to do that. I like the sound of it, but it's probably out of all your radios the one that has the least spark. But I like the Gonset because I have two G76s. I have switched the picture. If anybody's looking at the video or the picture, that is the 6ME5 tube exposed, naked, if you will. the way it would look inside the radio. The illuminated part is what sticks out of the front part of the radio, where they have the surround on the case cut out for the circular tube, and that you're looking at the top of the tube for the Magic Eye. So there you go, Mike. I'm going to turn it back to you for a transmission. Thanks, Harvey. We did get the Tram TR27C, and away we go.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I was kind of looking at the Magic Eye tube as I was speaking earlier, and now it was not moving very much, and I knew that this obviously is not the best performing radio in my collection. So my apologies to Harvey for not being able to hear me that much. The only comment I want to make about this is besides that G76, I think you had two of which were definitely on my, or is on my radar screen. I've always found it curious on all of the pictures, well, most of the pictures, like 99.999% of the pictures I've seen of this particular radio, the Magic Eye tube have, well, on at least the CD, the 11 meter version of this radio, they've got it like a plastic covering. I've just jokingly mean that the Magic Eye lid, I think, I don't know. But do you think that essentially a plastic cover that covered up half of the Magic Eye tube, and for those of you that look on eBay, if you go look up the Goddard Goody Bird ham radio frequency rated, there's two and 6 meter radios that I think have a metal version of what I'm at least attempting to describe. This thing, the CD version I'm talking about, the 11 meter version, had at one point in time like a plastic covering, and I wish I could describe what it looked like, but it's broken off on this particular radio. I can see where it originally had started, but it's long since gone. If you want to see what it looked like, go on eBay, like I said, and look up the Goody Birds or the yellow radios, or they have the communicator or commander, and maybe you can help me out on that, which one it is. But anyways, the other versions of this radio, the ham version of the Goddard thing, they had an actual metal covering, metal Magic Eye lid, I guess. But anyways, that's gone on this radio, and at least in my opinion, it's kind of a rare feature. And maybe I'm going to comment on that maybe at a later point in time, but this doesn't have it. It's broken off, maybe purposely, maybe accidentally. But it's kind of curious. If it doesn't make much sense, start looking around on eBay at the Goddard radios with the Magic Eye, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Actually, if you want to know what he's talking about and you're at oldtuberadio.net, go to the top of the page. There is where it says Live Show Archive Rig Database Facebook. It says Audio Controls. And there is a winking, blinking, actual live 6ME5 tube, Magic Eye tube, winking at you. And if you click on where it says Audio Controls, it will bring up the audio control box, and you will see on that audio control box exactly what Mike described, which is the eyelid or the shroud that goes over the Magic Eye tube. And so, yes, we love them so much, we actually have one on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Oh my God, that's a miracle. I completely forgot about that. I would, and maybe as a parting comment, I'd be very curious to find out if anyone that ever checked in on a Saturday night, I'd be very curious to find out if anyone actually does have one of the Goddard radios that has that plastic Magic Eye lid intact. I think that's pretty cool. So, well, there it is. Back to you.
All right, back to me in the studio. Radio 15, the Gonset G11. Thanks, Mike. Let me see what else is going on here so we can sign out, get the frequency back to normal. We still have listeners, believe it or not, over at oldtuberadio.net. Some of you staying up very late into the wee hours of Sunday morning, and we appreciate that. So hopefully we've given you enough interest to stay awake while doing that. Anything else from Mr. SWL20?
Yeah, I have a question for Mike. Are you still there?
He might be switching radios.
No, I'm sorry. I was just grabbing another handful of peanuts, which I have absolutely no business eating. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, remember you either ran off a copy or sent it to me in an email, the picture of the Super MC 100, the ad that somebody had sent you, I think, on your computer. Do you remember that?
You know what? I vaguely do. Absolutely.
Any chance you might still have that saved somewhere?
I can definitely look for it. I have no idea if that was an email attachment that someone had sent me, or what. But yeah, I can definitely look for that.
Yeah. Okay. You said you got it from somebody back east, somebody that had some information on some generals or something like that. You would talk to him either online or something like that, and he sent it to you. Because I was calling mine the 150, because that's what I thought it was. And then you got that, and it plainly says 100. Yeah, if you could still find it, send it to me. I've got the paper somewhere, but I can't remember where I put it. So just in case I put it where I can't find it, maybe I can get another copy of it there. But anyway, that concept, that's using a +2 on there, isn't it?
No, this is the original hardwired ice cream code, Mike.
Okay, I think it's Cliff then that uses a +2 on his, and I think his concept might have the shroud eyelid cover. I think his does. Mine doesn't. Mine's got a +2, no, D104 wire to it, and I've redone the audio so it's a little bit louder anyway, and it's 12 volt, and it's got a vibrator in it, so when I hook it up it just buzzes away, but I'll put it on one of these days. Anyway, okay, I'll turn it back to you and Dennis, and I might check one more in.
Okay, hey, so I got to ask you, because this is going back at least a couple of years, do you remember exactly what year it was that you bought that radio?
Oh, gosh. Okay. If I knew how to go back, through the eBay history of what I purchased, I think I can't go back far enough. But let's see. It has to be, oh gosh, this is 2017. Was it before 2010? It might be older than that.
Okay. Well, that gives me somewhere to start. I actually, I don't remember exactly what information it was I had received on that radio, although I do remember having this discussion with you more than once. You were asking me for that. I'll look at my old emails and see if I can find anything about that. And I do remember taking, actually here's another way I can find out what year it was. I do remember taking pictures of that very radio that you're talking about right after you got it. I think it was at the shop, so that it's easy to find out obviously when those pictures were taken, so I can go back and kind of cross-reference most emails at that one time. But yeah, I'll definitely look into that for you, and maybe if we're lucky, we'll get some information for you.
Okay, let me think about this. 55. I'm trying to think when it was. I'll have to think about it for a second here. I have to think about it here just to see. I'll come up with the year in a few minutes. I got one more radio check in.
All right, on that, OTR, back to you.
Okay. Talking about the MC100, which we were showing there, the Gansett to G11. Had Cliff's picture up there, by the way, and his radio that he shows does not have the plus two. It's got the standard ice cream cone style microphone, and his does not also have a shroud over the... does not have the shroud on the tube. So I'm just wondering if that was a standard thing on those Gansets. I know some Heathkits had them, and the other Gansets, the communicators all had the Magic Eyes that were more of the lunchbox style. All right, let me stand by. Jingle Singers will take us into our next radio here, which will probably key up after they're done.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Yeah, Cliff has two G11s. One I think is DC, one's AC, and one's got a +2 on it. Okay, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, you know it. It's my favorite. Check her in.
All right, so we will do that for Radio 16, the R68 T68 combination, also known as probably the original Eagle, because it is. It's the first one they put together that had the Golden Eagle name on it.
That is most correct. The Browning Golden Beagle from Browning Laboratories back there, and with the custom D104 with the Browning medallion on the back of the microphone. And there should be a picture of that somewhere on the archive, somewhere, because I thought I took it and sent it in.
All right, I think the one that actually shows up in the database is the one is the ad that we're showing, so I'll have to see if it would be nice to have, like we do with many of your photos, the Buddy Bass included, sort of an original, this is the one that's on the air type radio. Radio 16 is where your Browning falls tonight, and 1967 to 68 for that model before they switched, I guess, to the Mark II. The Series 1 transmitter had a spotlight. Some receivers have a variable RF gain. Others have a 3-position switch for RF gain. There was an optional wood cabinet. There was an optional bass speaker. If you have all of that, you are lucky.
Hey, Roger. Mike is listening. It had to be 2000, before 2010. Might have been 7, 8, or 9. Somewhere in that neighborhood, because I remember when I saw the radio, it was one of these weird cosmic happenings. I was coming back from a friend's house in Clovis, and I was thinking about that radio, what it would be like to find it. And then when I got home, it was like 1 in the morning. I went on eBay and I find this listed, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding. And I bid on it, and I got it. and I know it had to be before 2010. Could have been 9, 8, 7, something like that, because of something that happened in 2010. So anyway, but so that's how long ago it's been. Anyway, the Golden Beagle from Browning Lavatories, and back to you, Dennis.
All right. Well, a good history lesson tonight on some of our radios, and maybe a one-of-a-kind. Any other stations wanting to check in before we count an amount, and we have locked the door to get the jingle singers in your overtime. So I think they're going to do us one more tune, but I want to make sure we get all the radios that are out there tonight.
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
Hey, Dennis, you copy this?
I copy that, over.
Okay, you'll love this one. I did it just for the heck of it. This is the TR-27C. Who's a Browning banana mic on it?
It has a nice little tink, a little like you're hitting a glass dish when it keys up. But I guess that's it's picking up the key, the keyer.
Well, I don't know. I can't hear it. But anyway, I bought this because nobody bid on it. And it happened to have a quarter bid on it. And it happened on it. And it's wired right. And the element is half decent, I guess. Anyway, it's unamplified. Obviously, it's the banana mic. And it's in the Tram 27C.
All right, has a little different sound, but it works quite nicely, and it was a direct, you could plug it in and not have to rewire anything, right?
Right, plug it in, don't have to rewire it. The Browning mics normally are a momentary contact switch. You hold it down, let it go, flip it back up. But this one, they went inside and bent the little springy thing slightly. So when you push it down, it stays down, and then you just flip it back up to turn it off. But, so you don't have to hold it down. Anyway, I just had a thought I was looking at, and I said, why don't I try it?
Yeah, occasionally it has a little metallic clink to it when it keys up, almost like a mini Browning, but I think it's just the clanking of the metal, and that tram picks up the frequencies. All right, it works, and it is archived if you'd like to hear it.
Okay, I may check the archive out. I'll see how this sounds compared to the 5104, which should be a lot better. This doesn't have that swing to it. Looking at the meter. Okay. Anyway, turn it back to you so you can end the show. We'll check back with you next week.
All right, yeah, it is a little weaker on the audio gain. Key it up one more time. I want to see if it makes that same key up noise. You should keep it there just for that. I think you're going to like that. Now, it's very distinctive.
Okay. That's fine. I think I'll do it. Actually, this particular mic, I call this a Browning microphone, but it's actually an Electro Voice, which is the company that makes them. And it's gray, two-tone gray. And it actually somewhat matches the gray cabinet on this radio. The gray cabinet and gray knob. So
I actually can put it with this radio, so I'm going to do it. And it has a span. The cable is kind of short, the straight cable. It's only about 1.5 feet long. But this came with a stand, and it looks pretty good. Right now I'm holding the stand, and the mic is keyed on. So I think I'll take your suggestion and run this mic with it.
All right. Well, like I said, listen to the archives and see what you think. But it has the greatest little cube sound, very distinctive. Meaning they used to say you wouldn't be able to throw carriers on people because they know exactly who you are when you key up. All right. The Jingle Singers are ready to get out of here. Went over time tonight, but that's okay. That's why we're here is to talk about the radios and answer any questions. I didn't see any other questions over on the digital side, so we'll go ahead. And any other last items before we get out of here?
Just had to do it again.
Yeah, the clinkety clinks.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
All right, time now for the current and the final OTR totals. I think I've added things up. I think my voice is going to last here. When we go to the SWLs, which we often do, we had 10 checking on page 1, 15 on page 2, 10 on page 3, and 7 on page 4. Usually page 4 is the big one tonight, so I don't know what happened to page 4. That's a total of 42. And radios, we had 16 total tonight, and who was the most heard? I thought I marked that down. I want to say it's the general radio telephones, I think with 3. Because we started with Radio 1, Paul. See, Paul, it might be your fault that's happened tonight. The general radio telephone MC6. And we got off to kind of a bad start because he had all sorts of oscillation on the microphone. We're not quite sure if there was a tube issue or what was going on. So it gets, if you're listening, Paul, it got better after that. So your general radio telephone, even though it might not have done the best performance tonight, inspired some others to check in. Radio number 2, the Cobra Cam 88, the most mellow smoothing. It sounds like a Collins KW1. I kid you not. If you have a chance to listen to the archives, go near the beginning of the tube section and hear what Dennis is doing. And his secret, well, there's a lot of secrets, but he is using one thing. It's easy to do, and it's the mic preamp, the tube mic preamp, which allows you to probably interface a wide variety of microphones into your radio system by putting them into the microphone preamp first and dialing up that way. Very smart way to do things, and kind of fun too, where you can change microphones, but nice sounding on the Cobra Cam 88. Radio number 3 was Paul on his Lafayette Comstat 25A. And he also came by with Radio 4, the Lafayette HE20C. If we got one more Lafayette tonight, we would have had a tie. But good to hear the Lafayettes in there, sort of the when they went to the import versions, and I'm pretty sure the 20C was not an import. Hallicrafters CB3A from Chris for Radio 5, the Gemtronics G PowerMate Radio 6, also from Chris. He also brought by the Courier Royale, sounding very, very good tonight. So I think it just needed to rest last week, Chris, but the Royale sounded good for Radio 7. Radio number 8, the Chris 23 Plus. Thank you, Chris. Mr. DC on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 2. I think he said it was on a 12-volt mode. I don't think he was mobile, though, but sounded pretty good. Good to hear Philip on the one of his tube radios, one that doesn't blast out my headphones here. Radio 10 was Mr. Sidekick Jerry and the gang over there on the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Thanks for that. Chris on his general radio telephone Super MC11A for Radio 11, of course. Dr. Dan on the Courier 1, sounding very nice on the first offering from Courier by ECI for Radio 12. Harvey on his general radio telephone MC100 prototype. If you missed it, go back to the archives or watch the video. We've got some pictures of the front and the back of that radio. I think you will enjoy seeing a piece of history that never quite, I guess, made it. And the thing is, just from what Harvey said and the way it looked, I don't think that would have ever gotten type accepted. So one kind of wonders what it was they were thinking or planning with that radio, but we're sure glad to have it around. The Tram TR27C was Radio 14. The Gonset G11, which was Gonset's first Class D radio. They actually had an ad in the late 1958 talking about that radio. So the G11 series. Good history on that one. And the R68 T68 Golden Eagle from Harvey made it to our 16th radio tonight. So thanks everybody for hanging out on the Old Tube Radio Network. We do this every Saturday beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific time. We are locally here in Central California on 27085 Channel 11. If you ever want to tune in and see if we've got some e-skip going on, and always at oldtuberadio.net when the 6L6 is glowing and the live stream is up. And when we can, the YouTube videos, which we keep up for a couple of weeks before we rotate and recycle through that. Thanks for our technical assistance at searchlawrence.com. Frodex, happy birthday to Frodex today, or I guess yesterday. And we will catch you all next Saturday on your favorite place to be on Saturday, the Old Tube Radio Network.
Good night.
Ovaltine time, Dennis.
Well, I think so. And I managed to get through without blowing anything up here. It seems like it's sounding pretty good. So we'll catch you all later. Good night to those on the YouTube and 73 to the audio stream.
Did the mouse make it to another OTR?
Yeah, in fact, I'll show it up. I haven't turned the video off. There's the mouse. I can't hold the cat up. I don't know where Scooter went, so I'll probably have to find her. She's probably hovering over the food dish thing. Yeah, the Ovaltine. You get your Ovaltine after I get the food. Catch you later.
Okay, see.